ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. May I have the roll call, please?
Yes, Madam President. Council President Valerie Larry.
Here.
Council President Mike Contra.
Here.
Council President Linda Ratchford.
Here.
Council President Mike Clapp.
Present.
Council President John A. DeMonte.
Here.
Jimmy Democrata, Mayor. Janet Carlin, City Treasurer. Daniel Lasco, City Solicitor. Chief of Police Rick McGee. Jeff Bergstrom, Building Official and Clara Marshall, and Janet Carlin, City Treasurer.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. This is our regular March meeting of City Council. We're glad to have you here. I'm going to start with the first item, which is the approval of the February 12th regular meeting minutes. Are there any amendments or changes? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor of approving the February 12th minutes indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the minutes have been approved unanimously. At this point, I'm going to ask the treasurer to come forward.
Good evening. This is the unaudited report as of February 28, 2019. Unrestricted funds, $3,592,748.79. Total restricted funds, $2,462,897.17. Total cash in the accounts, $6,055,645.96. Also, the long-term debt is presently $2,022,127. However, $1,756,403 of that is the money that will be paid back by the trust. The street sweeper and the cars that are outstanding to be paid total $265,724.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the treasurer?
Ms. Carlin, how at this point in the fiscal year, how are we doing? I know we had a presentation from our auditor.
Yes.
What's your view?
Yes, I went over the report that you all get in your, and there are a couple things that are a little over in percentage-wise, but they all can be explained, and they're definitely beneficial. So we are right on target as far as the budget is concerned versus income.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. DeMonte, last month you asked how our outstanding debt was, and I really didn't have that information at this point in time last year. But it was $93,660. Okay?
Thank
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report unaudited as presented? So moved.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the treasurer's report unaudited has been approved unanimously. At this point, I'm going to ask the mayor to come forward and give his report.
I want to talk just a little bit about signs. We've made some progress eliminating those signs that keep showing up planted in our gardens around the city. Mostly we buy houses. We're doing a fairly good job of having them disappear, but now and then one or two continues to show up. More importantly, however, I've been working with George O'Neill as crew chief for the city
Thank you.
Very good.
Appreciate it. At this point, we're going to ask for reports from city administrator and staff. The city administrator is not here tonight, so staff, building official, do you have any reports, any updates on any projects or anything you'd like to share with council and the public?
No, we're real active this year, gearing up for our public works project, but the report pretty much speaks for itself. There's a lot of business license activity, a lot of building permit activity, and that's more on the way.
Okay. Any questions from the building inspector? Chief?
Thank you, ma'am. I know this was addressed. First of all, we want to thank the mayor and council for attending our ceremony last month. It meant a lot to the department. Last month, we conducted several search warrants on area residents and recovered a significant amount of heroin in a Washington Park house, 400 bags. Also with that was close to 4 ounces of marijuana and 2 handguns. There are still more investigations pending, and it's important to note that these are stemming from issues that are either called in, quality of life issues that are called in by us, or called into us, or by us monitoring the types of complaints that we might get at a particular resident. So, continue to encourage people to call us when they see issues. Last month, we also recovered a stolen vehicle. Both occupants were wanted. The car was stolen out of Maryland. They both were taken into custody. We made 4 DUI arrests last month. 57 criminal arrests. We made close to 300 traffic arrests. There were 15 crime prevention checks and 175 field service reports. We generated 95 crime reports and 113 traffic reports. Something from this month that I want to add is that I think this was last night. Our officers were sent to the Boothurst area for somebody trying pulling on car door handles. The good news is it looks like all the car doors were locked. The better news is we got there in time to see them, but the bad news is they got away from it. So the moral to the story is there are still people periodically that are walking around trying car door handles. So 2 things: keep your cars locked and call if you hear or see or anything you don't like. So.
Okay. Any other trends or concerns you
No
want
other
to share?
trends. Quality of life complaints are actually down. You can see in the report. I think there's 19 this month. 4 of those complaints are us, self-initiated stuff. 4 are commercial retail theft. So really, they're down, and I think that's got a lot to do with our presence in this building.
Okay.
One quick
Any
question.
questions for the chief?
Chief, one quick question. I know that you defined this once before, and you're collecting something on your charts that say field service reports. They weren't done in 18. Can you define those one more time for me, please?
So a field service report is it's a report that doesn't require a crime report or a crash report, but it documents call for service. So it could be a public relations, it could be a prevent breach of peace, it could be something that doesn't rise to the level of uniform crime report.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
And on, I don't know what page number it is because they're not numbered, but they're highlighted in yellow. Is there a particular reason for these? They are on the first page of where it actually lists the incidents after the maps.
Quality of life?
No, it's so it's on the back of the last one of these that say quality of life calls, correct. And then on the back there.
The self-initiated, I'm sorry, the yellow, they were self-initiated.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All right.
So you send an officer who is doing a regular community policing job, and they observe something.
That's not a resident calling in a quality of life issue. That's us identifying.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I think we're all very proud. A big drug bust. It's important to get those drugs off the street and improve the quality of life of the citizens, and also of your award ceremony, where you recognized many of the deeds. And I know there are a lot more that we are not aware of the police force in the last year. It just made me very proud. So thank you for that. Okay. At this point, council communications. Anything from council members you would like to share?
Yeah, I would like to just give a shout out to for the summer concerts, which will be starting in June. And so far, our sponsorships have come from St. Gabe's, St. Anthony's, the Fusco Foundation, Trans Plus through the Newcastle sponsorship program, as well as the Farmers Market Jessup's and the Garrison and the Castagno family. There's a couple others that are still outstanding, and I'll be happy to recognize them when that time comes. The concerts are once again up from 6 to 7 concerts, and likely with another concert on the final Wednesday of the month, which will be in conjunction with the Kalmar Nickel being in port that night. So we're looking forward to doing those. I just wanted to remind people, because I know, I probably have to remind no one here, but that letting your dog do its business anywhere and not picking it up is actually a violation of our city code. And while I certainly don't want to ask for a special patrol by our police department, because tickets and fines can be issued, they're not in the business of being the poop police. So, but if you see someone, please, if you've got an extra bag on you, if you're walking your own animals, or maybe you just carry one around and you see someone, feel free to go, hey, before you walk away, how about, here's a bag for you to pick this up. That's probably the most courteous way to do it. And I'm currently working on, and some of you received the email about dog waste stations, and that will continue. Forward. So,
any other council members have any comments? I do want to remind people that on Monday, the 18th, from 4 to 7 p.m., anytime, it's an open house. You can stop by the Newcastle Elementary School and learn about proposed plans from DelDOT regarding some improvements to the railroad crossing at 273 and Ferry Cutoff. There could be some changes in sidewalks and also restriction of traffic on 8th Street. That's one of the proposals. So I would encourage anyone that has an interest in that topic to go to the Newcastle Elementary School open house with DelDOT, and also provide your comments to them. And then, of course, council would be very interested in hearing your comments also.
And this is a state road, correct?
This is a state road. Yes, it's not our road. The railroad crossing is being done by DelDOT on their state road. That's to improve the safety at that crossing. As you probably observed, it's very close to a shopping center, a school, and it needs some improvements. They have done some minor work so far, but this would be the major rework. So I would encourage you to go and find out more. At this point, I'm going to go to business from the floor. I'm going to review the agenda first. The business from the floor would be comments on agenda items only. We have space for comments at the very end of the meeting. The agenda items are a motion, discussion, and vote on Resolution 2019-06. It's a resolution making appointment by Mr. Carano of Mr. Schiller to the Board of Elections. The second one is a motion, discussion, and vote on Resolution 2019-07. It's a resolution making a council appointment of Mr. Mark Chomp by Ms. Leary to the Historic Area Commission. The third item is a discussion topic concerning residents' requests for a reserved handicap parking space in a no parking zone on East 12th Street at the corner of East 12th Street and Balt Avenue. If there are comments, since it's a discussion topic, we would take any comments at that time on that particular topic. Then the fourth item is a motion, discussion, and vote on Resolution 2019-08. It's a resolution to approve a minor subdivision at 46 East 3rd Street. So if you have comments on that, this has been approved by HAC and by the Planning Commission. The fifth item is a motion, discussion, and vote on Resolution 2019-09. It is a resolution to approve replacement of our zoning map. Basically, it's a clerical thing, is to update the map to reflect current zoning. There is no rezoning that's going to be occurring. And then the last item is a first reading of Ordinance 518. It's an ordinance to impose a 9-month moratorium on the issuance of building permits and other land use approvals associated with the construction of new multifamily development projects involving more than 10 dwelling units in all zoning districts of the city. This would be a motion and a second to actually read the ordinance. And I will ask for our city solicitor to review the process for ordinance and this particular ordinance. What are our current rules and what's the proposal in here? If you would, yeah, go ahead and do that.
The moratorium ordinance is proposed by Mr. DeMundi. It relates to 10-unit or more multifamily development projects, whether they're standalone apartment complexes or mixed use with retail mixed in as well. It's citywide. Originally, the discussion related to the DG zone, but as drafted, the moratorium would make it a citywide postponement. And the idea would be to give council time to study and determine whether or not additional ordinance provisions should be adopted that would further control the growth of those type of larger multifamily type properties. Currently, we have, at least in the DG zone, where this has been most active recently, a special exception situation. In other words, several years ago, council amended the DG zoning ordinance to require board of adjustment approval via special exception for any mixed use or standalone multifamily development projects in that zone alone. This moratorium is really citywide, though, so it's a little more, quite a bit more expansive.
Okay. Thank you. And would you go over the process that it goes from, if there's a first reading tonight, then it would go to Planning Commission and walk through.
Planning Commission for a hearing, then back to the council here for a second reading and vote.
And it does require 15 days notice and newspaper notification.
Publication via
Yes.
state law, yes.
Because it's a zoning change. Okay, at this point, I'm going to ask for any comments from the floor regarding those agenda items. Okay, no one has any comments. Then we're going to move on to the first, excuse me. And I would ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes, and I'm going to help us tonight, I'm going to be timing. So if you would do that, I would appreciate it.
I will work hard at that. My name is Dave Baldini. I'm at 419 South Street. My comments concern the reading for the ordinance, and in the detail of the ordinance, it talks about the quality of life, and I would request that you consider more to the infrastructure issues and telecommunication issues and the other elements that go into this type of project. Second, I would ask the question, is it budgeted to the extent that it can get done sooner rather than later? Because at the end of 9 months, this is about the time that the 2019 comprehensive plan update is going to be passed through the state. So if we could have that report, if you would, as input to the current comp plan, that would be appreciated. 2 minutes, 30 seconds.
There you
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I don't know. Rick Schiller's here. Is Rick Schiller here?
Yes. And then the next item is I'm looking for, is Mr. Schiller here? Richard Schiller?
President.
Oh,
there he is.
great.
Oh, hey,
Thank
Rick.
you. Thank
Didn't
you.
see it. Didn't see it.
I just wanted to make sure you're here. We're going to ask you up in just a minute. This is a resolution for the appointment of one member to the Board of Elections. It's Resolution 2019-06. Do I have a motion to consider this?
So moved.
Second.
Second, I'm going to read the resolution. This is Resolution 2019-06, a resolution approving the appointment of one member to the Board of Elections. Whereas the Newcastle City Charter details that the responsibility for conducting all municipal elections in the city of Newcastle shall be vested with the Board of Elections, and whereas the Charter further provides that each member of City Council shall appoint one qualified elector who is also a resident of the city to serve as member of said board, and that the term of this individual so appointed shall be 4 years, commencing the day on which the appointment is made. And whereas the City Council proposes to confirm one appointment to the Board of Elections for a 4-year term, and that term ending March 12, 2023. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council hereby confirms the appointment of the following person to the Board of Elections: Richard Schiller, appointed by Councilperson Karana, term ending March 12, 2023. So ask Mr. Schiller to come forward, if you would. Would you introduce him?
Sure. So this is, friends, this is Rick Schiller. Rick is a neighbor that lives over in Washington Park. He and I are members of the same place of worship, and that's how I met him. He's in the choir. He can sing. I can't. He can carry a tune. But I think that, and Rick has expressed interest in becoming involved in the city, and so I thought this would be a terrific way to get him involved. So, Rick, if you just want to just say a little bit about take 30 seconds to talk about your professional life and how long you lived in the city, and that would probably be great.
All right, thank you. I've lived in this city since the end of 1988, so I've been here around 30 years. I've recently retired from my former employer, NRK. I'm working for another company called Bentley Truck Service. We've raised 2 children here. Both went through the Colonial School District. I served as a Board of Education member for 15 years on the Colonial School Board. And my wife and I have been married for 35 years, reside in Washington Park, and I guess for the next 4 years I'm going to stay. So, if you have any questions, I'll take them right now, too.
Any questions?
All right.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have any questions. I just want to know if you know how to count.
That's
I read your
isn't it?
resume. No, I read your resume. It's fine. It's great. You know what? We've had some funny election results around here in the last 10 years. I just want to know. I just want to put people in there that can count. That's all.
Oh, for the coming elections, not for prior elections.
No,
Okay.
we don't want to go there.
Because I lost them. I won them all fair and square.
I'm just worried about.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay,
right,
thank you
thanks,
very
Brian.
much.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, I'm going to ask for a vote on Resolution 2019 appointing Mr. Schiller. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, Mr. Schiller, you have been unanimously nominated to this position, so congratulations. And thank you for your service. Thank you for your service, too. Okay, the next item is a resolution 2019-07. It's a resolution making an appointment to the Historic Area Commission. Do I have a motion to consider 2019-07?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to read the resolution. This is a resolution making an appointment to the Historic Area Commission, whereas the Newcastle City Council passed Ordinance 505 in part to amend and restate Chapter 230-49 through 52 of the Code of the City of Newcastle relating to structure, proceedings, and powers and duties of the Historic Area Commission, and whereas the Historic Area Commission shall consist of the following 6 members. 1, an architect licensed in the state of Delaware and having interest and knowledge in the protection, preservation, and restoration of the historic character of the city, appointed by City Council. The architect shall be a non-voting member who shall serve in an advisory capacity only. 2 city residents having municipal voting privileges and appointed by City Council. 3, 2 city residents having municipal voting privileges appointed by the mayor. 4, a planning commission member appointed by City Council. 5, at least 3 voting members shall be residents of and have legal or equitable title to property in the historic district. And whereas the City Council has nominated Mark Chomp to serve as one of the City Council's city resident appointments to the Historic Area Commission for a 3-year term, now therefore be it resolved that the City Council hereby approves and confirms the appointment of the following person to the Historic Area Commission: Mark Chomp, appointed by Councilperson Leary, term ending March 12, 2022. I would ask Mr. Chomp to come forward. Ms. Leary, would you like to introduce Mr. Chomp?
Oh, Mr. Chomp lives currently at 44 East 4th Street, and he is married to a 3rd generation native New Castilian and raising 4th generation New Castilians here. Mr. Chomp is, I thought he'd be a good candidate and discussed it. He wanted to get more involved, and I thought HAC would be a good fit, and I approached him about that. He has recently gone through HAC, a rather lengthy process, and he's very familiar with everything about it. So I thought he would be a good selection.
Any questions for Mr. Chomp?
I heard you. I read your thing where you went through this whole process.
Yes.
Very trying, wasn't it?
It was not an easy process, which is part of the reason why I want to be a part of this. I
Is there
learned a lot from it.
anything, is there anything you would seek to change to make it an easier road for an applicant?
Yeah, transparency up front to make sure that the applicant fully understands the process from start to finish, know what's expected to them. And then, I think we need to figure out a way in which we can ensure that the community is aware or have more awareness of kind of what's coming being presented before the hack as well.
Did you ever run into common complaints that I get that people were treated differently? Different materials were okay for some and not for some others? Did that ever bother you?
I mean, I haven't personally experienced that myself, but I think part of being a part of the commission is the fairness, ensuring that every applicant is kind of reviewed on its own merit. So, that's part of what I would want to be is if I'm sitting on the hack, I'd want to make sure that it's a fair process for everybody, regardless of who you know or who shouts the loudest.
I would ask you if you would consider treating everybody the same, because even though things are difficult, if everybody's treated the same, they can take it a lot better than if people were given special treatment.
Yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment.
Thank you.
I would completely agree with Mr. DeMundi. The history of the Historic Area Commission has been, unfortunately, especially in the past, consistently inconsistent. And so I think your experience actually renders you as a really, really good addition to the commission, and so I would support the candidacy.
Great.
Any other questions? Mr. Chung? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to call for a vote on appointment of Mr. Chong to Historic Area Commission. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you've been unanimously appointed. Thank you very much. The next item is a discussion concerning a resident's request for a reserved handicap parking space, a no parking zone on East 12th. This is put on the agenda by Mr. Platt, and I'm going to ask him to lead the discussion.
At this time, I may just table this, but I'll give you a brief history of what happened. Probably 6 months ago, we made the east side of 12th Street no parking. During the construction of Bolt Avenue, there was a resident that could not get into her driveway or had a very hard time getting into her driveway. A handicapped parking spot was put in the middle of the no parking sections of the street. It was taken down when the construction was over. Brief conversations with the resident, and it really hasn't gone any further than that. So until I can talk to them, I kind of like to table it. Table this unless anybody else has something to say.
No, just where exactly, Michael, is it on the map? Where's the property?
If you looked at the foot of her car, there's a gray car with a sunroof on Bolt Avenue.
Got it.
The no parking spot was probably put at the end of the driveway.
Got it.
On the east side of 12th Street.
I got it. Thank you.
I have no objections. I was on the council when we originally gave the lady a handicap spot. We went through the whole process with her, why she needed it, and why it was appropriate for that part of the street. That we had some objections to it, but I think because of her condition, it got passed.
No, so that was never brought in front of council. That parking spot was put there by the city administrator to assist the resident through the construction of the Bolt Avenue project.
There was a handicap spot there.
No, there was never a handicap parking
Well,
spot.
I beg to differ.
No,
with you.
well,
I'm not going to argue with you about it.
Well, you're
I was
right.
sitting here 10 years ago when we discussed it. So, you know what? I was just giving a comment. If you want to take it personally, you can
I'm
do
not
it.
taking it personally. It wasn't
Well,
there.
you are taking it personally, dude.
It wasn't there.
Okay.
I was just making some background. I wasn't objecting to it, if you would have listened to me.
Okay, any other comments? We're going to move on. This one's...
Do we need a motion to table, or are we just citing?
Just a discussion? Do we,
Discussion.
nothing
Right.
to table? Right? Yeah. And that is discussion unless someone wants to contribute or someone from the audience wants to contribute. Okay. Okay, we're going to move on. This is the next resolution. 2019-08 is the resolution approving a minor subdivision at 46 East 3rd Street as parcel number 21-015.10-120. And I do have a motion to consider.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Second. I have a motion from Ms. Leary and Mr. Platt is the second. I'm going to read the resolution. This is Resolution 2019-08, a resolution approving a minor subdivision at 46 East 3rd Street, parcel number 21-015.10-120, whereas Nancy L. Yodelbauer has applied to the Council of Newcastle for minor subdivision approval for property located at 46 East 3rd Street, known as tax parcel number 21-015.10-120 within the city limits. And whereas the Historic Area Commission has reviewed the application under the terms of the Historic Area Guidelines and zoning regulations and has determined that the application is in conformity with those guidelines and regulations of the City of Newcastle and recommended to City Council that the subdivision be approved. And whereas the Planning Commission has reviewed the application under the terms of the subdivision regulations and has determined that the application is in conformity with the subdivision regulations of the City of Newcastle and recommended to City Council that the subdivision be approved, and whereas the Council determines the application meets the requirements necessary for the approval of the subdivision as shown in the attached Exhibit A. Now therefore be it resolved that the application of Nancy L. Yodelbauer for minor subdivision approval for property located at 46 East 3rd Street, known as tax parcel number 21-015.10-120 within the city limits as shown here by a plat prepared by McBride and Ziegler, Inc., drawing number 201848887, dated 11/5/2018, and attached here as Exhibit A, reflecting such subdivision is approved, and such plat shall be entitled to be recorded in the office of the Newcastle County Recorder of Deeds. Is there someone, Ms. Yodelbauer, you're here, and you have someone with you? Would you like to step forward and identify yourself, please?
My name is Mark Ziegler. I'm with McBride and Ziegler, and our firm prepared the plan, and everything you just said was accurate. We went before the Historic Area Commission, and we got unanimous approval. We went before the Planning Commission, got unanimous approval. The subdivision plan is a very straightforward subdivision plan. There's 2 existing dwellings, and we're basically going to take a legally non-conforming situation and make it legally conforming because there's 2 dwelling units. And we're basically creating a subdivision line right down the middle of the lot here, not the middle, and we're satisfy all the bulk standards. And I think we're as I said, we're resolving a legally non-conforming situation by separating the lots.
It's been to the 2 boards, and I understand our building official and our solicitor has also looked at the plans.
Yeah. Jeff, do you have any questions or comments? Any comments? Okay. Solicitor, any?
The only thing I was going to mention is that that's kind of an unusual artifact to it, that you look at the 2 lots, Lot 1 and Lot 2. Lot 1 is the smaller of the 2. Its rear setback line is parallel with Harmony Street, whereas Lot 2's rear setback line is parallel with East 3rd. And that's an artifact of the fact that these are both created as quarter lots. And for our code, when you have a quarter lot, you take the narrower side as the road frontage for purposes of identifying what's the rear property line and rear setback. And you'll see the 2-story barn does encroach on that, but that obviously is a non-conforming structure. It's not being increased in size or any dimension, so it's permitted to remain there as it always has been. But it's kind of interesting that you look at it, and the 2 rear setbacks for these lots are perpendicular to one another. That's the way it is.
Would there be any problems if she needed to repair it, or?
Repairing the barn, that is?
Yeah.
She shouldn't expand it without going to the Board of Adjustment for approval for it. Repairing it, replacing it would normally be permitted. If it was a total destruction, there's some code provisions that talk about not being able to rebuild it as is. It's a historic structure, as I understand it, so I'm sure some kind of accommodation can be made for this to be restored.
Probably got.
This is Ms. Yodelbauer, who owns the property. Would you like to say something?
No, just that the barn has been restored. All of the barn siding, roof, structurally inside reinforced, so I don't anticipate any problems with it. It's a catastrophic situation of the road. And I also would be living in the unit. I'm moving from a large house to a small house. It's just a lot to take care of.
I'll bet you got the receipts to show that you remodeled that barn. I'm sure you did. Thank you for investing in your property and investing in that building too, because that's sometimes goes overlooked by people. But so thank you for doing that.
Yes, and we're glad you want to stay. So any other questions for Ms. Dodelbauer?
Isn't it true, Mr. Lasko, that there weren't any variances or any things objected to the code that we have to approve this anyway?
I'm not sure I follow the question. Say it again, please.
Isn't this an automatic approval if there's no variances or anything needed?
That's right.
We have no right to vote against it. We've been through this for 50 years. People come, and we always said, why do you keep bringing it here? Because if everything goes according to code, and if there's no variances or no adjustments needed, we have no right to vote no.
Well, that would be correct, but in order to have the council president sign the plan so it can be recorded, it requires council action.
It's a matter of right to have the subdivision.
In this particular instance, yes.
All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All those in favor of Resolution 2019 approving a minor subdivision at 46 East 3rd Street, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Your subdivision has been unanimously approved. The next item is Resolution 2019-09. It's a resolution adopting a new official zoning map to supersede the prior official zoning map. Do I have a motion to consider this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion of Mr. Cron and a second from Ms. Leary. I'm going to read the resolution. We'll have a discussion. Resolution 2019-09 is the resolution adopting a new official zoning map to supersede the prior official zoning map. Whereas at the meeting of the Planning Commission held on October 22nd, 2018, the Commission reviewed the proposed replacement of the city zoning map pursuant to Section 230-3 of the Code of the Mayor and Council of Newcastle, and whereas the Planning Commission has determined that the existing map dated February 2, 2004 has become difficult to interpret because of the various zoning changes and additions that have been approved by Council since 2004, and whereas the Planning Commission has certified the accuracy of the replacement map attached here as Exhibit A, and whereas no properties are being rezoned as a result of the adoption of this replacement zoning map. Now therefore be it resolved that the attached official zoning map is hereby adopted to supersede the previous official zoning map dated February 2, 2004 as amended, and that the mayor and city clerk are authorized to certify the adoption by their signatures on the official zoning map dated March 12, 2019. Comments from the building official? Jeff Birchman?
This zoning ordinance provides that the map, when it becomes too cluttered with notes marking the changes that have happened, should be readopted and we can get rid of the notes and have them in the map. We just rezoned a couple properties in Dobbinville. That's got us up to, I think, a dozen notes on the map, which are actually pretty lengthy, and they're fine print. You just kind of cover up the map and then there's little circles that tell you where the rezoning occurred to refer to the note. Now it's time to just make the map be clean again. We did it in 2004, and now it's the time.
Question for the solicitor. Mr. Lasko, in the event something's wrong, what would happen?
You do another amendment to your zoning map to correct it. We need to say that there was a mistake on this map.
If by accident there were a mistake.
You correct it via resolution by a corrected resolution.
I'm just curious, because this, you said it was updated in 2004, but we did an update to our comprehensive plan in 2009.
Zoning map is not the planning map.
Okay.
Zoning map is totally different. That's the map that governs land use. So the zoning map tells you what the property is. We've changed things, and like I said, I think there's been about a dozen changes for probably the better part of 100 properties over the
Okay, thanks for that explanation. Any other questions for the city solicitor or for the building
Yes,
official?
I'd like to comment on the map.
Certainly.
I think it's aprio that the map shows up before the next ordinance. When you people have a chance, if you look at the map as we can, you'll see parcels in dark red are downtown zoning, downtown gateway or whatever. And coincidentally, every one of these parcels marked in red are destined for mass high-rise apartments because the downtown gateway gave them the right to build them without even coming back here to council. So it put a big fat suitcase full of money in every one of these owners and developers by passing that downtown gateway. And now we're here trying to stop a horse that's already left the gate. Look, get a copy of this map, get a color copy of this map, and look where every dark red thing is. If not now, in the next 5 years, there'll be a high-rise apartment sitting on it. And that's what downtown Gateway did to this town.
Any other comments? Okay. I'm going to ask for a vote then. A vote on Resolution 2019-09, a resolution adopting official zoning map to supersede the prior official zoning map. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the resolution has passed unanimously. Okay, the last item on the agenda before public comments is the ordinance that Mr. Lasco explained the process and the background on it. At this point, since it is an ordinance change, there we would need a motion and a second. Then we would read the ordinance. There would be no discussion because it would then go to Planning Commission and then it would come back for a public hearing. So, do I have a motion for Ordinance 518?
Yes.
A motion for an ordinance to impose a 9-month moratorium on the issuance of building permits and other land use approvals associated with the construction of new multifamily development projects involving more than 10 dwelling units in all zoning districts of the city. Okay, do I have a second?
Yes.
I have a second from Mr. Carano. I'm going to read the ordinance, and then this will go through its standard process. Ordinance 518, ordinance to impose a moratorium on the issuance of building permits and other land use approvals associated with the construction of new multifamily development projects involving more than 10 dwelling units for a period of 9 months in all zoning districts of the city, whereas the Council of the City of Newcastle Council acknowledges its responsibility to ensure a good quality of life for all residents of the City of Newcastle, the city, and whereas the Council is concerned with the potential proliferation of larger multifamily developments in the city and how they may affect traffic congestion issues, the delivery of police, fire, emergency services, and other public services, and the general quality of life of city residents, and whereas Council deems it appropriate to impose a temporary 9-month moratorium on the issuance of building permits and other land use approvals associated with the construction of new multifamily dwellings exceeding 10 dwelling units on a citywide basis to allow suitable time for study possible amendments to the city's code to address quality of life issues associated with such larger multifamily developments, including mixed-use developments involving more than 10 residential units. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Council of the City of Newcastle as follows. A temporary 9-month moratorium is hereby imposed on the issuance of building permits and other land use approvals associated with the construction of new multifamily residential development projects that exceed 10 dwelling units, including mixed-use projects involving more than 10 dwelling units on a citywide basis to allow suitable time for study possible amendments to the city's code to address quality of life issues associated with such larger multifamily and mixed-use developments. The moratorium imposed by this ordinance shall not affect development projects and land use appeals already properly submitted to the appropriate city agency for consideration, but not yet fully approved as of the effective date of this ordinance, including but not limited to rezoning applications, site plans, land development plans, subdivision plans, and Board of Adjustment applications. Section 2, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is for any reason held to be unconstitutional or invalid, such decision shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Council hereby declares that it would have passed this ordinance and each section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase, irrespective of the fact that any one or more thereof is declared unconstitutional or invalid. Section 3, ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed, provided that any such repeal shall not abate a right of action already accrued under any repealed ordinance. Section 4, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon passage. And that concludes the first reading on March 12, 2019. All our official business is concluded. At this point, I'm going to open it up for public comments. I do ask if you would like to make a comment, if you would please sign in at the clerk's desk. And if you would limit it to 3 minutes, please. And I have a timer here just to give you some guidance.
Thank you. First, I want to congratulate the chief for a job well done, something we ain't seen around here for a long time. Thank you, Chief. Second, I want to talk about that piece of property the Cirillos bought out just before Dogville where the apartments are supposed to go. I was kind of disturbed by what Mr. Mundy was saying about nothing has to come through yous anymore. Well, I've got information that there's multiple people that had no clue whatsoever that that was a Superfund hazardous waste area when that job was okay to be built there. Contaminants set dormant under the ground. Okay, now when you go start driving pollen into it, it starts to move. If I drive a pollen through this roof, the rain's going to come in. Now you drive pollens out there next to that contaminant dump, and you're going to allow that contaminant to now move where it's been dormant. It won't move unless you disturb it. And I'm just wondering how that ever got approved when half the people approved it knew nothing about the site in the first place. We're pushing this Southern Gateway too fast. Okay, that's a contaminant waste site. We already have minor problems in our drinking water. Now you start letting these people come into our community and start driving these pollen 100, 150 feet in the ground, you're going to disturb contaminants that have been resting for years. I'm asking, I don't know if it can be done. I don't want any more permits issued to that job until we find out exactly what took place there. I can remember them. I've worked construction most of my life. Unless it's an emergency, the state does not allow you to work under that road. I've watched them people put a water line under that road, a major highway, in the middle of a rainstorm. And it just sends red flags up. How was this ever approved? And if you allow this to go on, it's not right. You're going to keep fooling with these people driving these pollens to this ground until we have a very serious problem with our drinking water. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Is there, Mr. Bergstrom, are you familiar with these properties? Excuse me, I'm going to have, if you would wait just a minute, please. Mr. Bergstrom respond, because I don't, if you're familiar with these properties and have any information that you could share.
Mr. Cirillo's property there?
Yes, that would be good.
The 1 acre site, not listed as a served site. It's had a phase 1 audit and passed it. There was no didn't rise to take this up to a phase 2, to require a phase 2 audit, as it did over on the site where Delaware Block used to be, where Riverwalk was going on, and that site had required a phase 2. They tried, and there's a prohibition against contacting groundwater net. The limit for the remediation limit for that project that's recorded is just that you can't put a water well on the property. And so, relative, no one has said that piling shouldn't be permitted there. Piling is permitted to be placed on the more polluted Riverwalk site. And the pollution in Riverwalk is such that you shouldn't drink or contact the groundwater for long periods of time. But there's spill on top of it and there's cap on top of it. No one expects there to be any negative externality from construction activity.
Okay. So you're not aware of any environmental concerns on the subject property? Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. The next person would like to talk, if you would sign in and identify yourself, please. You need another pen?
Yes, I do. Actually,
But you can't approach, sorry, you cannot approach the table. If you would give it to the clerk.
Yes, one is for you too, or else for Mr. Martel. And I'll just borrow your pen. There's 6 on each.
We'll distribute it after your comments.
And my comments will be 3 minutes. As I pointed out at the February council meeting, the trustees have recently provided millions of dollars to cover repairs for which the city is responsible. At that time, Mr. DeMundi also brought up the matter of insufficient city funds for city responsibilities. It's fortunate that the Municipal Services Commission and the trustees are available to provide money when the city has overruns. But this financial support won't always be there, and it shouldn't be. The trust money should be spent on projects that are beyond the scope of the city government. This questionable behavior has been going on for the past 15 years without being corrected. In 2004, when Chris Castagno was president of council and Bob Appleby was president of the MSC, council significantly overspent its operating budget and the city faced bankruptcy. Thanks to the MSC, disaster was averted. From the MSC minutes of April 2004, quote, and these are the copies that I've got for you. President of MSC said the commission felt they could not let the city go bankrupt, unquote. So they gave council funds to cover the overrun. From Mr. Appleby's letter to Chris Castagno, May 11, 2004, the commission will not be in a position to provide additional funding in 2004 to 2005 and is concerned the city may pass a bare-bones budget which does not fully account for contingencies or decreases the level of services or projects which will affect the quality of life people in our city have come to expect. The city has done an admirable job in not raising real estate taxes for over 10 years, but the development of the business parks, which has allowed this to happen, has slowed with the economy and no longer provides the council this luxury. The commission has noticed this slowing in growth in its own revenues. Council must recognize the MSC has its own long-term capital expenditures, which it is committed to, and encourages council to take a long and hard look at their financial requirements and plan accordingly. That never happened. In 15 years. This council has an important responsibility to the succeeding council. Based on your experiences during the past 2 years, you should have council's approved policies and procedures in the most workable structure. If any changes you make will be unacceptable to the next council, it can repeal them. Therefore, on behalf of Newcastle residents, I hope you will take action tonight to avoid operating fund overruns of more than 5% of any fiscal year budget, except in the case of an emergency. No exceptions will be made for discretionary spending. At the very least, at next month's council meeting, I request that a council person give a report on council's plans to eliminate budget overruns of more than 5%. Is there agreement for one of these two options? The public deserves input tonight from all the council members. And if you do not discuss it now, shame on you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, we can get them after the meeting.
My name is Biddy Beal. Is this thing working? My name is Biddy Beal.
Biddy, it just records you.
It doesn't amplify. It
doesn't
records you. It records you.
But it is important to speak in the microphone. So he
I want it recorded.
Okay.
Don't help us listen. It just makes it go on the record.
I'd like to follow up on Ms. Fisk's comments. I've lived here for 15 years. I've come to many city council meetings. Excuse me. And when I hear the treasurer's report, all I hear is the amount of money in the bank. It tells me nothing. I would think in most entities that I've been associated with, when there is a monthly report, financial report, it's compared to the budget for that particular elapsed period of time. April, that would be what, 10 months of operations? Excuse me. So hearing that we have several $1 million in the bank really doesn't make the citizens feel that you all know what's going on. And I would like to know who does know what's going on, who's running the finances of the city. Anybody have an idea?
Sure. What's going on? That's my business.
You do. Does anybody else?
Yes.
We all know what's going on. We have many, many
details
pages.
are all right
Why are there not more detail given to the citizenry as to where we are versus the budget? Excuse me.
So Benny, thank you. Good questions. The details, and I'll ask Ms. Carlin if she wants to respond too. But she works. She's of course the public's representative to oversee the staff. We have a director of finance, Ms. Walls. We get a report every month that details all the different budget accounts. And per my question tonight and other nights, we talk about how we're doing per function. So her summary is just that. It's a summary. But what we get in advance, 7 days in advance, is a detail as to each account, how we're doing per account, year on year, based on the budget, year-to-date revenue, and if there's an excess or deficit, what the percentage is.
Why is that information not made public in the aggregate?
I think, well, I don't know what's on the website and what's not.
You can probably get a copy then.
Yeah.
You're welcome to a
post
copy.
it. I can post it.
The budget is posted on the website, and we follow the budget. Yeah.
Okay. Well, makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. But for those people that maybe don't have access to a computer, it would be nice if they come to a city council meeting if they knew that we're not going to have a huge cost overrun or an excess in cash
I
flow
ask
at the end of the
questions
year.
every single meeting about how we're doing. Are we on budget? Do we have any particular problem areas? There are any material problems? And I ask her those questions every single month. And when I stop in the city offices, I ask Ms. Walls those exact same questions all the time, because personal property safety, your own personal self, and city finances are the fundamental building blocks of community government. I don't know. Ms. Carlin, do you want to say anything about the detail?
Thank you.
Sure.
I can certainly give Mr. Field the detailed report that we all get. It's approved by you. And as you say, it's a summary. The information is public. He can get that information anytime he wants.
And we all frequently ask questions about where we are in a particular budget, and we pay close attention to it, because once we set the budget, this is what we go through, and we know that it's a balanced budget. So
I pulled this out of my report just now, and if it's okay with you?
Sure. It's public information. All right.
Thank you.
I think it's important, related to the gentleman's question, the most important financial event in our 350-year history happened 2 years ago with the charter change. We became a fiscally responsible organization. Now we're a debtor nation. We operate on debt like the rest of America. Before the charter change, we had to have a balanced budget. We weren't allowed long-term borrowing, and we were a model for almost every other little town in America. Now we joined them. Our credit card's maxed out already at $3 million, and we're keep going strong. We want more money from the trustees to do stuff that we should be doing ourselves, and that's your choice. If that's what you chose, this is what you're getting.
If you would come forward and you would sign your name and identify yourself, please.
Good evening, Karen Whalen, 17 West 3rd Street. I'm standing up in support of Ordinance 518, the moratorium. Is that correct? It's 518, right?
-9.
Is that the right code? What is it? I'm sorry.
2019, the year.
No, ordinance number 518, right.
Gotcha.
Okay. I believe I speak for many residents. I know I do, as a matter of fact, in support of that moratorium. I'm surprised it would be only 9 months, but we'll take it. It definitely needs to be passed. Unfortunately, many residents are apathetic and they don't pay attention to what's going on, but if they would definitely be against that. That's a very big threat to the nature of this city. And certainly we need measured development that matches the infrastructure. You can't just grow apartments, as I see those apartments down the Garrison grows without the matching infrastructure. It doesn't work, and it happens far too often throughout the United States. I certainly hope that the 4 council members who didn't propose this before will vote for the moratorium. It'll be interesting to see where you stand. If we want a quaint town, or do we want a crowded, what will become surely a ghetto? That's what it looks like to me. Anyway, that's my honest opinion. I sure hope that we don't see a slew of applications come in for development between now and the second reading, which would be a month from now. So I intend to do a FOIA and keep an eye on that. And finally, it's a very bad bellwether. Many of us have watched with great concern the filling of the land, what was a marsh behind the senior center, in probable anticipation. Nobody is not smart enough to see that filling is taking place for a planned development. There are folks who live around there who are very concerned, and they have to listen to that development at night and on the weekends. Why at night? If you're doing something honest, why would you be filling at night? That creates an aura of great suspicion. It makes no sense, and it disturbs residents. And there should be an ordinance for noise for the folks who live down there and are disturbed by that day, and mostly night and weekends as well.
It was 9 months. I wanted a year, but Mr. Lasco suggested 6 months, and we compromised, and we made 9 months. Because I think it can't be a moratorium forever, and the moratorium is basically was introduced to supplement the downtown gateway right to build, whereas we have a right to demand things like traffic study.
We do.
We have a right to demand these people responsible for any infrastructure improvements. Maybe some of the places should be zoned historic rather than
I agree.
Downtown gateway. Seems to
Thank
me
you.
like they were cherry-picked on the zoning map.
Thank you.
They were
I agree.
cherry-picked for development rather than a planned development.
Why would we let developers control the development of our city? We're the residents, and the council's supposed to be in
Ma'am, I had
control.
one of them tell me to my face, God strike me dead, that I have a suitcase full of money and I can do anything I
Yeah,
want
money
in
seems to
Newcastle.
talk, but in this case,
No,
you need
it's
to
not
stand up
talk.
for the
It happens.
city. I know. Thank you. Thank you for proposing that. Thank you.
Does anyone else have a comment? What, you can be next. You can, after him.
It's her alarm.
Is that the alarm?
I have handouts. How do I get them?
Just give them to the clerk and we'll get them. If you would identify yourself.
Does the press need anything? I'll get you an extra copy. My name is Roderick Gillespie. I live at 24 West 4th Street. At the last council meeting, 2/12/2019, I attempted to determine how the specific location of the West 3rd Street parking lot came to be and who decided it. I read a letter of the 29th of November 2016 from the President of City Council to the President of the Trustees, in which the Council President specifically recommended the West 3rd Street site to the trustees, even though there were 4 other locations available. This occurred after my having brought up the opinion and study by our city engineer, AECOM, which recommended the following on the 26th of October 2015 about parking. It said, his report or her report says, subcommittee goals, goal number 2, principles. 1, this is what you should do. They're telling the town, and we paid nearly $10,000 in that year. It says, 1, improve utilization of existing parking spaces before creating new parking spaces. The 3rd Street parking lot contradicts this. 2, minimize traffic in the historic area. The 3rd Street parking lot increases traffic in the historic area. 3, enhance the pedestrian and bicycling experience. I think the 3rd Street parking lot would slightly negatively affect these things. 4, minimize impacts on residential quality of life. If anyone's seen the newspaper, they know how big this thing is. It's going to adversely affect the residential quality of life. Minimize impacts. Number 5, minimize impacts on businesses within the historic district. I think that the parking lot actually will help the businesses slightly. Finally, 6, enhance the community's overall character and minimize the environmental impact for any new parking facilities in the historic district. I think it's pretty clear that there's going to be environmental impact. There's more runoff from this. It's a concrete lot, and it bisects the neighborhood. Now,
Sorry, your 3 minutes is up.
Well, I think I'm making some points here.
Well,
I'm
I'm trying to keep our moving meeting. We have your written explanation, and we'll certainly all look at it. So, thank you.
Okay, if anyone else would like to take it up. Oh, you're giving me 2 minutes? Thank you very much. I've been given 2 minutes. In response to the above 6 items.
Well, excuse me, someone else could come and speak if they would like to come speak. I'm trying to keep order here.
All right.
Yeah, this is, we also heard, so if someone else would like to read what Mr. Gillespie has written, we can do that. Okay?
Maybe we could sell minutes. That's a way to raise revenue.
So,
Well, I think
Okay.
3 minutes is a bit unusual.
I promise you that we will all look at the information that you have to supply.
Right, in private. I understand, in private. But this isn't the Soviet Union, you know? This is the
I know.
United States.
Thank
I
you very
understand.
much.
Right,
Thank you very
right.
much.
Well, I think we understand you very well, President
Thank you.
Rankford.
Thank you. Miss, I'm sorry, I told you, yes. Go ahead. Okay, you're going to read for him?
Indeed.
Okay, I told someone else they were next. Excuse me, the clerk has a question.
Yes. Madam President, my question is, if someone's going to continue to read someone's letter, is it possible, of course I want other people to come and talk, but if they're going to read someone else's letter, can they state their name and say, I'm reading such and such letter to you?
They certainly can do that. I think that we had someone else I told would be here next. So they are. You would like to step forward because he was already standing up. So, okay. And then you can be next. If you would write your name down. And state your name, please.
Rod Miller, 124 East 3rd Street. I watched something happen yesterday morning that I thought I should make a comment about. Has to do, with a traffic situation. I come up 6th Street 5 mornings a week and make a right-hand turn, which is no easy feat because it's very narrow. There's no shoulder, and anyway, I got behind a truck. I can't remember the name of it. It's either High Mark or High Point. It's a dairy company. You see the High Point, they've got the yellow trucks. You see all over the county. Anyway, as we're getting, as the light changes, I see he's making a right. And I thought, oh boy, this is going to be good. There was a car coming the other way, coming like into town, coming up, to the light. And he had to, pull way ahead up into the intersection, to get out of the way. And I'm watching this, and, there's got those double wheels that they have. Mm-hmm. Both of them way up on the sidewalk, almost took out our new trustee's front porch. Okay, I mean, not really, but I mean, he could have. Mm-hmm. It came close. And I'm thinking, oh boy, this is not good. So anyway, we're coming up to the light there, where you swing around, and go out the 273. And I saw he went straight across. He was making a delivery, I guess, to Walgreens. He pulled right back in there. And it got me to thinking, why did he do that? Because, why did he come up 6th Street? He should have just gone around, the ferry cutoff and gone in that way. I think that's really dangerous. But I don't know if there's anything not legal about that because, as you're coming into down around where I live, there's a sign there. It has like a weight limitation for trucks. If you exceed this weight, unless it's a local delivery or something, which this obviously was. So it's not a weight thing. Maybe that was a new driver, or maybe he wasn't, used to the area. But that's I've never seen that before. I don't know if any of you, maybe this happens all the time. I don't know, but that truck is too big to be making that turn. That's dangerous. And it just got me to thinking, because I've heard complaints about, the truck traffic, in town before. But is that maybe something somebody could call that company and say, hey, a driver of yours was witnessed on this. You really don't want to go up there and make that turn anymore. It easily could cause an accident. I mean, it's just not good. Anyway.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your comment. I will ask the chief. I know you could just summarize the truck rules in the city. That basically, if they're making a delivery and they're local, they can get through. And so some of the trucks are very big.
Right. This said, obviously 6th Street was determined as a state maintained road. So to me, it sounds like somebody did what they're doing.
Okay. And
anybody that lives downtown knows the curiosity. Drivers that don't know what they're doing end up down there, and we do what we can.
Yeah, and we certainly do all we can on trucks. It's a concern.
Chief, I think it would probably be a good reminder at some point to communicate with all the businesses, especially down here, that they did it once before and they should do it again and be diligent about reminding their suppliers and their vendors to bring smaller vehicles down here, not larger ones. They were doing a pretty good job for a while, but I think some of them either forgotten or they've changed drivers, and so we're getting some larger trucks coming down to do food deliveries and things like that. So maybe a reminder to all of them. I think we maybe could ask Mr. Barthel or the chief. We get some communication out to all the area businesses. That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. If you could sign in, Ms. Beal.
Sandy Beal, 26th The Strand, in the stead of Mr. Roderick Gillespie. In conclusion of his arguments, the West 3rd Street parking lot would damage the historic district and will be enormously expensive. It is now estimated at least $425K without landscaping, plus loss in value of 22 private dwellings, conservatively at $500,000. So actual costs are nearly $1 million to the city, the people, and the trust. The property owner's cost is the most pernicious. Also, the parking lot actually endangers the historic status of our city. The National Trust for Historic Preservation maintains a yearly list of the 11 most endangered neighborhoods in America. We could actually be nominated. The city and trust should build flat, less expensive parking lots by expanding existing parking lots on the fringes of the historical district, as was originally recommended by our AECOM parking study. And finally, the question remains, who ordered that the West 3rd Street site be the only one considered reversing the recommendations of AECOM? Sincerely, Roderick Gillespie. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have an answer?
Okay, would someone else like to speak?
Are you going to answer?
Or who is first? Whoever wants to speak first. Go ahead. Yeah. And good. How are you doing? And I want to remind people, council is always open to discussing any topic with anyone. The comments are not a chance to have a discussion because we don't have that time. If there's something you think should be discussed, a council person can put it on the agenda. We're always welcome to have a discussion about any topic with you. This is just to get comments from people, and that's why it's a time limit. So if you would identify yourself.
Hi, my name's Kathleen Wooster, and I live at 108 West 3rd Street.
Okay.
And I listened to that young lady up there speak up here about the noise on the weekend. And I live there, so I can attest to the noise that I hear every weekend. The dumping of the dump trucks, and the big loud bangs of the back of the dump trucks, and the pounding. And my husband and I talk to each other all the time. What are they doing back there? What are they doing? What are they doing?
They're filling in the wetlands.
What are they doing?
We're filling in the wetland.
Why?
They have a flood.
Hold on.
I'm not
sure. No, I don't.
No.
I've come
Yeah.
to these meetings, and they're
No, that's fine.
pretty
Mr. Bergstrom, do you want
awkward, so I
to?
don't come very often.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Sure, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You certainly
Okay,
deserve
let
an
me finish.
answer.
Sure.
But we're
Okay,
trying to
sure.
understand
Sure.
the question. So, Mr. Bergstrom,
The
who's our building
question
official?
is, what are they doing?
Fair.
Do you know what they're doing?
I don't know what they're doing, but I know this. There's a very big difference between, my point, the reason why I reacted is I don't know what they're doing. Mr. Bergstrom, you can speak to this. There's a big difference between wetlands, how they're protected, and the floodplain. And
We're not in the floodplain.
Got it. Well, I'm going to guess that they are because most of the city in the surrounding area, if I got your address right.
I'm not in the floodplain.
Okay. Under the new maps, you're not.
It's cost me $2,000 to be in the floodplain.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Mr. Bergstrom, do you have any commentary?
Behind the senior center. That's where I live. It's my
The field back
backyard.
there is absolutely not in wetlands. It's in the floodplain. They're filling the floodplain
Why?
to remove the property from the floodplain.
To build upon?
Or park upon. The property owner hasn't turned in any development
Who's the
plan.
property owner?
Midori Incorporated.
Midori Incorporated. How long have they owned that? How long has this plan been in? Because when I bought my home 2.5 years ago, that wasn't going on, and I was not aware of it. But I guess that was my negligence, that I didn't do my diligence to find out that the big high-rises were going to be built in the quaint town that I moved to.
The city has no high-rises. We have one 6-story building. The rest of the building,
Oh,
the
I'm
highest it
sorry.
can be is 4 stories.
I'm sorry, I don't know the definition of a high-rise. Mid-rise.
Oh, Jeff.
45-foot building.
They'll go to Board of Adjustment. They'll get any height they want, just like Garrison. They'll get exceptions. They'll get to fill in 8 foot above the floodplain if they want to, if they want to get height adjustments. They did it with the Garrison. They did it with the Garrison. Are there 42-foot heights at Garrison now from the road like it was supposed to be? No, they're 60 foot.
Well,
So
I will.
if you consider 60-foot low rise,
I don't.
No,
I
you
don't
don't.
consider
Just believe me.
60-foot low rise.
Okay, did that answer your question?
Yes, that they're that nobody's telling me the truth of what really is going to happen there in the future, because I think we all know what's going to happen there in the future. But I'd say to myself, I see you people around town, and none of you live over there where this is happening. They're not building over there by your homes. They're building over here. Like this side of Delaware Street doesn't matter or something. There's, like they said about the parking lot. Why didn't they just expand on the parking lot that's already there?
Okay, well, we appreciate
I know you
coming.
hear me because that's what you say to get us to go away. I'm not trying to be rude to you. I'm not. I really am not.
We're also trying to share what, there
But
has been nothing filed
I think that
for
they-
this
they-
property.
They feel the same way that I do. I'm not trying to be rude. We just care about our town, and none of you are personally affected. None of you.
Well, we
Maybe Mr.
also
Money
care.
is. I know he is.
We do care about our city.
Get a
and we-
copy of this map. You'll see where the high rises are going to go. They're dark red.
And then this is, please let me continue. This is my next thing. Don't gavel me. Please let me continue. So when all these high rises go up and there's apartments, who's moving in the apartments? Because all over Delaware, big high rise apartments are going up. Who's moving into the apartments? It's not like they're condominiums and people can buy them and care about them. It's apartments. And then what eventually happens to the apartments? Who moves in the apartments when they can't fill 1,000 and the developer got all of their money? Who's moving into the apartments, and then what happens to our town that you live in, but down the street?
Ma'am, there's not going to
Okay.
be any down the Strand. I assure you of that.
That's my point.
Okay, well, thank you
We
for your
don't have
comment.
it.
We're,
No, but
I will,
we don't have
I'm
any
going to say,
We don't have any say. You guys decide
Okay.
everything. We don't have a say.
well, excuse me, there, you have a lot of say.
I'll be back next month.
You have a
You have a
say
lo-
in 2 weeks, April 13th.
I will say,
That's when you have a say.
you certainly have a say in the elections. You also have a say in the comprehensive plan, which is being updated, and that is a good place to give your comments. The Planning Commission is working on that now. Development is based on what's in our zoning maps, what's in the comprehensive plan, and it's supposed to be a reflection of what we as a city want to be in the future. And so I would encourage you to get involved in that process. But many of the things that are set in motion come from this planning process. I mean, the concept of the gateways was to replicate downtown. That was the concept, and that was established way before I was on the council. But I would just encourage you that we're in the input process for all of this. There was recently some surveys, and that's how we establish what's going to be our future. And to come, give us your feedback. We do appreciate your feedback. Okay?
Go ahead, Phil.
So go ahead. I'm sorry. We need to respect the person here. Did you sign in and give your
Yes.
name, Mr. Gross? Okay. Thank you.
Phil Gross, 301 Moore Avenue. The first question is, how can I get a copy of the colored version of that
The
map?
map?
Yeah. Is that something
The red
that's...
map?
Yeah. Is that something that's readily...
Here, I have it memorized. Here, you can have mine.
Okay, we'll get it
I
to
knew
you.
about it 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I do want to applaud Mr. Councilman DeMundi on that motion, because we were talking about just taking out, or the possibility of taking out, a traffic light in this city of Newcastle, which is already jammed and we already have problems. We built the Garrison, now we're going to have more, and council blindly doesn't seem to know what's going on back there. What a surprise.
You don't have to worry. They're all down our end right now. They're going to put another 120 of them right alongside Garrison.
Well, there could be. Is there any ongoing, continuing monitoring of the land, the water, and the property down on the gateway? We heard that as of right now, there's no issues, no fear of contamination, but is there ongoing monitoring of it and reports done that are available to the public?
Yeah, those come from MSC.
Right,
Correct.
so-
Correct.
For your water quality standpoint, or from?
Well, for just, in general.
I mean,
the land.
MSC does, yes, monitor your water quality, and our water quality is good. It's all filtered. But in terms of monitoring the groundwater all over the city, I'm not aware of anything that happened.
MSC they have a bunch of wells.
But for building permits and that type stuff, or to break ground, are there certain rules or restrictions that say we can't go by a report from a year ago, 5 years ago?
No.
It's got to be ongoing?
State code, DENREC, MSC, probably in that order. State building code, DENREC, and then MSC. And any other regulated utilities that are within the footprint of the proposed plan.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of adjourning indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.